Awesome. Welcome to our Africa in Conversation. This is where we have virtual conversations that cut up the borders to connect Africa to the opportunity. We are here to unpack, to understand, and to work towards finding solutions to the fundamental challenges that we face here in Africa. And today we are talking on an amazing topic. What does it mean to be a woman in Africa? I believe the essence of success is found in the virtue of who you are. And our success here as women in Africa is found in who exactly we are. Until we get an understanding of who we are as African women, always going to be difficult for us to reach the edge of our success. But still, on that note, we understand that there are women that are able to actually beat the odds, to actually defy all the expectations, and actually become who they were destined to be here in Africa. And today we have brought together those women all across Africa to come and share their experiences, to come and give us an understanding exactly what it means to them when they an African woman, when they say becoming as an African woman. I'm joined here today by three amazing women. I have Lady Vera all the way from Ghana. Hello, Lady Vera. And we have also Cynthia all the way from Zimbabwe. I understand Shirley Hills from Nigeria will be joining us sometime soon, and we'll also be joined by an amazing woman all the way from Tanzania as we are on with our conversations. Women, I'm going to kindly ask.
Patricia.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to kindly ask that you start off by introducing yourself. So I will start with my neighbor here, Zimbabwe. Kindly introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you very much, Patricia, for hosting us, and greetings from Harare, Zimbabwe. My name is Cynthia Chirinda. I am into people development. I'm a personal development consultant. I work a lot with developing organizations, developing leaders, young people, and women. Women remain a subject, a topic, and an area of passion in my life, Patricia. So I'm just so excited to be here, and I look forward to us just sharing strategies and discussing a whole lot more that can take us going forward in Africa. So pretty much that's who I am and what I do, and absolutely passionate about Africa.
Awesome. Lady Vera, can you kindly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hello, Patricia. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
So hello to everybody watching us. Greetings from Ghana. It's very lovely weather today. It's raining. It's been raining since 5 a.m. So it looks like it's a very nice time to relax. So my name is Lady Vera Metzler Henson. I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, aviation professional, business development professional, and a growth consultant. So currently I champion an aviation discussion on Facebook. I also do lecturing and I write books and I do consultancy for growth of industries. So that's what I'm into currently.
Awesome. Listen, when I started, I mentioned that our success is in the virtue of us understanding exactly who we are. And my first question, just to kickstart our conversation, is according to your own understanding, according to your own interpretation, what does it mean to be an African woman? I think I'll start off with you, Lady Vera. You can go on and start the conversation there.
So the question is very, very deep. I hope you can hear me though.
I can.
All right, the question is very deep because it's taken us a long time to have that space to define ourselves as African women. We are women just like every other continent woman would be, but we have a special kind of way of life. So we are known as African women. So a woman from Singapore or a woman from Europe or a woman from the US can have most of the traits that we have, would have the body like us, would have the brain, would have hair and all that, would have the organs. But as African women, we have the physical body, everything that a woman has, and we have a lot of experiences that defines who we are. Now, these experiences, some are good and some are not. But together, they build us up, and then we become African women. Found on the soil of Africa, most of us are black or dark skinned. Some of us are light skinned. Most of us in life and have found our resilience from that. And so we have now gotten the definition of being called African women, women with stories, women with expertise, and women who have forward looking ambitions. So that's what I can say about African women.
Awesome. Women with experiences, women with stories, women with expertise. Cynthia, according to you, when somebody says an African woman to you, what's your understanding or what's your interpretation of exactly what it means to be an African woman?
Thank you very much, Patricia and Lady Vera. That was an awesome introduction. I think she really covered just the wide scope of what it is to be an African woman. But maybe before we even talk about the woman, I think what is it to be an African? Really, we find ourselves contending, and for me, that's really the word, contending with so many stereotypes. Before you're even the woman in Africa, you're already contending with the stereotypes of what it means to be an African. And unfortunately, the face of Africa has just really been painted with a whole lot of narratives that are more negative than they are positive. So when you then become an African woman, where already the woman has been seen as a second class citizen for decades, you are already coming in a space of a lot of contention to get your voice heard, contention for you to be relevant, contention for you to be able to multitask, because the African woman finds herself in a space where she has to, uphold a culture, and whilst she's upholding a culture, she still needs to become a contemporary brand. So I think it becomes a bit of a weird dance, because she's also living in the 21st century, Patricia, where she is trying to be relevant, where she's trying to develop her own personal brand. So I think being an African woman is a contention against a negative narrative, so that you actually create a positive narrative of what it means, firstly, to be an African, and secondly, what it means to be a woman. So I think, in addition to what Lady Vera has said, that's what I might just want to add on for now.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. We lost you a bit there, but I guess we are back in. Yeah, we are back in. I love a lot of it leads me to the next question that I have in mind right there, because there are a lot of myths that are surrounding women in Africa. There are a lot of understanding. I don't know what's happening to our internet there. Yeah, like I was saying, there are a lot of methods that are surrounding. And the one that stood out for me is a belief that there's a belief that's standing that a woman's life, an African woman's life, is never purpose driven, but rather it's responsibility driven. And then taking that to a quote that was made by Miles Monroe sometimes back, he said, "Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable." And then going back to our stories here in Africa every day of women being abused, the girl child being abused, and then taking it to the essence of living for responsibility instead of living for purpose. What's your say on that? Yeah, I think Cynthia, you can start us on that one.
That's very interesting, especially in terms of responsibility. Because I think from a very young age, Patricia, we are socialized and we are told that no, you've got to be responsible, because you are the one who's going to take care of the home. So sometimes, especially when I look at my own personal story, you sometimes don't get to actually enjoy childhood. Even when I look at how in my own personal family we had four girls and one boy, and my older sister, because of our family dynamics, she took on the burden and responsibility of being a mother to all of us, her four younger siblings, when she herself still needed mothering. Uh, because, of course, at that time, the mother figure was not there. So you then find that issues of responsibility come into play at a very young age because you are already carrying a burden where you are made to understand that you are all about carrying burden. You are all about making sure that everything is calm, everything is solid, and everything is stable. So, of course, it does have advantages that it comes with, especially in terms of nation building, because as women, we then become nurturers of life. And with that nurturing, it helps us to build families, it helps us to build communities, and it helps us to build nations. But then the challenge is we are given the sense of responsibility, but we're not always given the positions that enable us to execute those responsibilities meaningfully. So I may know what responsibility looks like or what it should be, but when the systems work against my being in a place where I can meaningfully impact, where I can meaningfully design policies, where I can meaningfully execute plans and strategies that can actually build a family or society or community or a nation, then there tends to be a problem with us being molded towards just being responsible. So allow me just to tackle that part of the question, and then I'll leave Lady Vera to maybe just speak a little bit more into the second part of what you said, because I noticed she picked quite a lot of that in her introductory statement later on. So maybe Lady Vera, you might want to just take it up from where I left.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you. Now, I can so resonate with your story. We are brought up knowing about our responsibilities, but the space to be able to actually function well in those responsibilities, that's another story. But Patricia, this question has been on my mind for a while, so thank you for asking this question. Issue of responsibility, passion, and purpose. It's difficult. It's difficult not because um, we don't have the resources, but it's difficult because people who started the journey before us, some were not able to balance the three. And so now we are trying to find role models who are able to balance responsibility, passion, and purpose. And even this conversation helps us to actually dissect the issue. What do I mean by these three things? Responsibility is when you know you're supposed to do something. As women, basically in Africa, we know we are the people to take care of the home.
Yeah.
When it comes to yeah, when it comes to siblings, you are there. When it comes to your mother, your father, you the girl child, you are supposed to do that. So from that angle, a lot of children, a lot of females did not actually even go to school because of household chores or these kinds of responsibility. And I know we all know the story of why girl childs did not go to school and the benefits or the disadvantages we are seeing now. Number two, in terms of passion, a lot of us were not given the room to discover our passion because of the responsibility. We didn't get the room to discover our passion. You didn't know that, okay, you can actually laugh at a joke. You can be a comedian and make it in life. You can actually be an artist and make it in life. You can actually just speak. You know, speaking is also work and it comes with passion. We didn't know. And then it comes to purpose. Now, purpose is very interesting because nobody can define your purpose for you. So now you have to come to a place of sound mind to actually find your purpose. If you are not comfortable with your responsibility, your passion is not allowed. It comes to purpose and you feel confused because you don't know what you're supposed to do. And I am of the view that we need to hear more stories of people who have made it in these three categories. How did they go about their responsibilities, balancing work life, family life, children, marriage? How did they do it? In terms of passion, how did they do that? How many times did they go out with their girlfriends to have fun? How many times did they decide just to do their makeup and, enjoy life? How many times did they decide that, okay, I'm going to play tennis, not because of money, but because I just love it? And then finding their purpose to say that with every experience, with everything that I know, I'm supposed to do this particular thing in life and to impact the next generation. So for me, I'm praying that we get to know more stories, not stories that are Facebook stories or stories that look all beautiful, the details of how you led your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Sandy.
I loved how you kind of agreed with what they said. Cynthia mentioned earlier on that we are given a sense of responsibility, but we are not given the platform. And you also agreed with her to say, yeah, responsibility is there, but we don't have the space to exercise the responsibility. But then looking at the statistics that are there right now around surrounding women in Africa, it literally shows that we are still failing as women to break the glass ceiling into entrepreneurship, into boardrooms, into, and then the question that one may ask is also in putting in consideration that one might think the space is not there. But do you also think that culture plays a role in actually limiting us into reaching those platforms? Considering the fact that we have women like you, Lady Vera, we have women like Cynthia that actually were able to wear all the different hairs and still be able to balance. You are a mother, you are a daughter, you are an entrepreneur, you are a coach, and you are an author, and you are still able to wear all those hairs and still be able to sit in boardrooms and still be able to act. But we have women also that had, were limited by the expectations that comes with a woman as she comes back to say, as she grows up, to say, okay, and you've been married now, maybe quit your job and go take care of the kids and everything. Do you think our culture as Africans also who we become?
That's a very powerful question, Patricia. And I think before we even talk about culture, we need to come to a place where we understand our identity, which is why your first question was very key, because culture is really translated and interpreted through the lenses of how we identify ourselves. Before with this broadcast, we're, just you, myself, and Lady Vera, we were having this conversation about our travels. And I think you and I will all agree that being an African woman is one of the most misunderstood and misrepresented, states of being. Because, when you travel and people ask you, oh, where are you from? Then you say, no, I'm from Zimbabwe, I'm from Botswana. They say, no, you must not live there. Really, you come from there. Why? Because you find that there's a bit of confusion in terms of what they think and perceive Africa is based on what they've understood the African narrative to be. Because, you know, uh, normally outside of Africa, the definition of an African woman, it conjures images of starvation, illiteracy, oppression. The African woman is someone to be pitied. She screams development aid, and she should actually appreciate that the world is coming to a rescue. So, coming to the issue of culture, there are certain norms in our culture which are very rich, which are very helpful, And I think we need to nourish those. I think we need to protect those. But then there are certain inherited elements of our culture which have not done much to actually help the African woman explore her identity. They have not helped her to, fit in, or rather to stand out in the 21st century contemporary world. If anything, they are forcing her to be boxed into some cultural perspective. So I think for me, I would respond to that discussion and question by saying that let's start with our identity. And then through
Mhm.
our identity, we can actually begin to interpret what our culture means from that place of identity. Because, for as long as we continue to blame the world when their, knowledge of Africa is very narrow and limited because of what they've been exposed to, we will lose our authenticity. You, Patricia, I love the way you just described the African woman. Even as we were preparing this whole meeting, the African woman is beautiful. She's powerful. She's unique.
Mm.
She's feminine. She's authentic. Lady Vera spoke about how she's phenomenally resilient, passionate in the pursuit of her dreams, and inspirational in her drive to succeed. She is multidimensional.
Mm.
So when we look at that, to then put culture and box her and say she then has to fit in this frame, be all those things yet fit in this frame. Sometimes I think we may tend to limit her. So let the African woman begin to identify who she really is in terms of her authentic identity, and then begin to develop a culture and a narrative that is relevant for where she is and where she wants to take herself and her posterity in Africa. That's what I believe as a mother. I'm a mother to three daughters and two sons. And whatever I do, whatever decisions I make, I am saying, what culture do I want to preserve? And what new culture do I want to develop to still maintain an Africa rising narrative? So that will be my take on that point of discussion, Patricia.
Awesome, awesome. Lady Vera, culture and us become who we were destined to be.
This is interesting. Thank you, Cynthia. You've just mentioned everything I wanted to mention so far. But it's I mean, I think we understand ourselves in terms of what we want. So we all know what culture is, but to be able to define it for ourselves, I would say depends on your belief and depends on your faith. So if I'm in Ghana, I can say that the practices and the way of life could be my culture.
Mhm.
However, as a Christian in Ghana, in Africa, I begin to define my culture in a different way. Because now, what I do and how I do things, there's a higher authority that tells me how to go about things. And because of that higher authority, it kind of defines my culture for me. For me personally, um, as a woman of God as well, it's the Bible. So it helps me to think. It tells me about how I should approach somebody. It tells me about why I should say this particular word and not the other word. It tells me why I should dress in a particular way and not in another way. So because it tells me, it doesn't tell me do this, don't do this. No, but from the experiences of the people who have lived a particular life, I get to define who I am. Moving forward, I bring these principles that I have learned from the Bible to my corporate life, to my
Mhm.
social life, to upbringing of my children, to everything that I do. The way I train my children right now is because I have seen the stories of people who have lived according to the faith that I also um, succumb to. And so I'll tell my child, don't speak this kind of language to another child. Don't bully another child in school. Don't mistreat or feel that the other person who is light skinned is different from you. Don't feel don't have this low esteem because you are dark or you are black.
Yeah.
So these kinds of languages that I use is because of where I'm drawing my source of inspiration from and my source of direction. Why am I talking about this? We try to define what our culture is every day as African people. And sometimes we think that defining your culture would come from the space. No, it would not come from space. We have to find a ground that would allow us to define our culture. This ground can come from our experiences as people. It can come from the ancestral stories that we know. It can come from our shared faith. It can come from our struggles. But we have to get the lessons right, and then the lessons will begin to form our culture. And that's what I
Um,
want to talk
um,
about culture.
you mentioned, I think you both mentioned a very important thing, identity. I don't know, but for some reason, I have a fear that as African women, we have my mentor has this thing where he says a lot of women are true to themselves that they are not really. And to say African women, it's good that at times we watch a lot of these other people and we aspire, but it has gotten to a level where we lost identity trying to acquire a certain identity. I don't know if it makes sense that way. We've lost our identity in trying to pursue a certain form of life and trying to be the so and so, trying to be exactly like the so and so. But I actually like it stood out for me when you talked about identity because it's very important for us to go back to finding our identity and actually pursuing all that we need to pursue at the least and at the basis of who we really are. Somebody commented on our Facebook page. They put up a comment. They say a lot of us women are taught responsibility more than purpose. We really don't know why we are here as women, apart from knowing that we must cook, we must take care of the family. The society has defined a woman according to the household responsibility more than purpose. I think that is why a lot of women are afraid to pursue their purpose. And
Mm.
this goes, I think this comment it's by Nancy Chai. This comment, it goes back to what I said earlier on, to say, there's expectations around a woman in Africa. The society has its own expectations. Family has its own expectations. Such that now it's hindering our growth as women in Africa. Because I've heard cases, that a lot of cases of women actually quitting their jobs as CEOs because they recently got married and they need to go take care of their kids. And we have the people that would actually decide to say, I just got pregnant, so I think it's best I leave my job so I can go take care of the work. But is that exactly the way we should be?
Mm. That's very powerful, Patricia. And that kind of introspection is what will take us where we need to be. A woman is who she says she is, not what everyone else says she is. It's a question of revelation. I liked the faith basis that Lady Vera brought in. For my personal revelation and understanding of my purpose and my life, my life calling and assignment in terms of who Cynthia is, I cannot derive that purpose outside from God, outside of a revelation of what He created me to be. And this is my own personal understanding. Now, I then look at my context and I say, surely I could have been born in Asia, I could have been born in Europe, I could have been born in Latin America, but I was not born there. I was born in Africa. So, what therefore becomes my purpose as Cynthia within the African context? That has been my conversation over the last few decades. And that's the conversation that I encourage women to have, Patricia. Because when you have a revelation of who you were created to be and to become, you then do not defer to other people to define who you are. Because I'll tell you what, many times Those people do not even know who they are themselves, but they're very willing to define you. So I come back again to the home atmosphere, to the home environment. And I want to say this message to every parent who's out there and say, from the point of conception, when you realize that you are carrying a seed, a child that is going to come onto the African continent or wherever you are, you've got to understand that that life is coming with purpose. And it is not you who even has the prerogative of defining what that purpose is. You are there to nurture, to be a steward. And for me, this revelation has helped me, Patricia, to be able to steward even my girl children. Like I said, I've got three daughters and two sons. I realized that for my daughters, there is a special need for me to be able to make them understand that they daily must be on a quest of understanding their life purpose and identity. Because if they wait for anyone else to tell them that, this is when you then grow up and have children who say, oh, my teacher always told me that I'm this and this and that. God bless them. Our teachers are absolutely, I'm telling you, I got molded to where I am because of my teachers. So it's important that we take what is said to us and still introspect with that same information, because sometimes the views of other people are limited. And referring back to the comment that you mentioned earlier on, when it comes to the issue of us, being dogged down more with responsibilities, honestly, we then look at ourselves as working machines. We then don't look at ourselves from a point of significance where we are asking ourselves to say, what is my significant purpose? And for as long as we think that the Western, or what is called the first world nations' lives, are more superior, we may have a challenge. Because if we tend to prefer anything else and everything else that's not African, it means we are not going to start developing ourselves to a place where we value the wisdom that comes with being African. Because we're going to rubbish everything that is African and just assume that everything else, which is non African, is definitely more superior. So we have responsibilities to begin to change that narrative in our children and to acculturize them to a place where they appreciate that no, innovation actually starts from Africa. It's just how we apply ourselves by understanding our identity. So that's my take on that, Patricia. I'm not sure what Lady Vera might want to add on.
Beautiful, beautiful, Cynthia. I'm thinking of what story to share. Really, I don't want to talk about the. No, I want to share a story on this where, growing up myself, I knew there were responsibilities. I knew, okay, I want to marry or I don't want to marry, that kind of thing. And then, when do I want to give birth? And and how long do I want to work for somebody and work for myself? What happens? I didn't have the pictures very clear. I didn't have it like that. After secondary school, my mother had to leave. My mother had to leave and find a way. Welcome.
Yeah, I think just finish up what you wanted to say, Lady Vera, and then I'll introduce her right after you.
Okay. So my mother had to leave when I was just about 19. And then and there, I realized that there's responsibility. I needed to work and take care of myself. There I knew there was responsibility. Nobody had to tell me because I didn't have a lot of family members who had money or anything like that. And I didn't even know them. So I got to that point and realized, okay, this is responsibility. How do I choose to embrace that kind of responsibility? Do I embrace it with a lot of um, rejection and anger? Or do I embrace it and say, okay, this is for some reason? So let me do my best. And later on, when I get understanding, I would really appreciate what I did before. And so that is how I took that period. I have worked for about 10 years in the corporate setting, non-stop. And within that 10 years, I had to also bring up a family. I got married and have two children. Now, everything that I did it knowing that it comes with responsibility, it comes with passion, and it comes with purpose. And for me, I had a choice. And that is the point that I want to make. As African women, we have options. You choose when to get married. You choose when to give birth. You choose when to work and when you want to relax. Yes, the choices are influenced by what is happening around, the circumstances, the environment, just like this COVID-19. Sometimes you are there and your company folds up, but you choose how to respond to that fold up. Will you be crying for 10 more years? Or you will say, okay, what else can I do? So for me, as African women, we have options. And with these options, we tend to be okay with our choices. We tend to be okay whether you want to marry, whether you want to have children, whether you want to work. With the choices and the options that you take, you have that feeling of being okay with your choice.
Yes, I think I needed to note that right there. You said something that stood out very, very profound, Lady Vera. She said, as we need to understand that as African women, we got choices. Our options matter. Our choices matter. I was about to introduce Miss Milay all the way from Tanzania. I think we lost her again, but I believe she'll be joining us as we continue with our conversation. Yes, Cynthia, Lady Vera, as she was talking, she mentioned, I think this one it just stood out for me in a very different way. She said, as African women, we need to understand that we got choices
Mm.
and that our
That was
choices matter. I think I'm just going to throw it back to you to just say a little bit on that one, because personally, I feel like as women in Africa, we are, I don't know. We kind of logged in, we other people's opinions of what we do matter more than our own choices. So much
mm,
that you might decide you want to be a speaker, but for me to be a motivational speaker, everybody feels like, you are better off maybe working at certain store offices and stuff, because most of the women that work there, and then somebody would think, Patricia, you should get married at 30, and as you get married at 30, because you got married last month, get pregnant, you know you can't stay with your husband without children. What if your husband goes searching? And we are limited to those choices, but we
mm,
still have women. I want to emphasize this. We still have women like you, like so many other amazing women, that were able to defy this expectation and still be able to actually balance the hearth of becoming everything that aspired to become: a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur, a woman seen in the boardroom, a woman that travels, and still be there to do all their responsibilities.
mm. Well, this is awesome. Really, Patricia, I have three words to say to what you have just spoken about. The first one is exposure. The second one is background. The third one is wholeness. Why am I saying this? I was born in a strong rural village with a strong rural background, very limited exposure, very disadvantaged in a lot of ways as a girl child from a family and whole parenting and protection and security perspective. I had a lot of odds against me, right? So, what am I now speaking to? I'm speaking into my background, which limited my exposure at that time. So, even if there were to be choices put before me, if I was not exposed to the fact that there were other options or there was a better or higher way of life, I would embrace and hold on tightly to the only world that I knew. And the world that I knew is you wake up, you clear up the fireplace, you go, you open for the chicken coop, you go to the sheep, the goat pen, the cattle crow, you make sure that those animals are taken to the different areas of feed, you go fetch water, you go into the
Cynthia,
farming areas. So
Cynthia, can I pause you a bit right there so that we can cue in Miss Millet all the way from Tanzania? You are welcome, ma.
you're welcome, Malay. So good to see you.
Can you hear us, Miss Millet? Can you hear us? Are you able to hear us? Okay, I think let's just continue with our conversation as she sorts out her microphone.
That's
I
great.
think she, yeah.
It's great to have Tanzania as a nation very close to my heart. And Lady Millet, hope to see you soon once the COVID regulations are out of the way. So, as I was saying, having grown up in that space, you find that because you are not exposed to other possibilities, other avenues, other ways of life, and you are growing in this environment where if you want energy, okay, if you want to cook, if you want to light up your house, you want to get light, you've got to fetch firewood, right? So where you have not been then exposed to those things, you then find you at a place of disadvantage. So I spoke about exposure, spoke about background, and I spoke about wholeness. I believe that those three, when they come together, and if they are not interrogated or contended with, they will keep any individual, worse still, any woman down. Why? Because she will continue to believe that whatever I have been exposed to is the fullness of what the world has got to provide. My background defines who I am, where I came from, and what I will ever become. And I think that's where our challenge and fault is. So sometimes, even when we have failures in life, we tend to always then look backward in the rear mirror instead of looking at the possibilities, because we actually don't have that wide frame of reference. We don't have our wide front view mirror because we are not getting exposed. So how do we get exposed? We get exposed by what we are surrounded with in terms of the teachings, in terms of what is available now. So when you look at the African rural woman, girl, child, her exposure to some extent is still disadvantaged in comparison with the urban contemporaries. And then finally, in terms of wholeness, many of us as women, Patricia, have sadly gone through a lot of life battering situations, lots of brokenness, lots of abuses, lots of things that just bring down our self, where we think we're totally unable. So for anyone to tell you that, girl, you are limitless, it's like, hello, that's too much of a liberated gospel. I'm not taking that. This is my portion in life. Hello, this is what I was told I'm supposed to have. This is what I was told belongs to me. You want to make me a radical. So unfortunately, again, I'm a minister of the gospel, but at the same time, it's so unfortunate that religion has also come in and has been misapplied and misappropriated to that space where we then find ourselves being confined, and we then find our roles being limited to certain. No, yes, you can be, you can sit on serve as a secretary on the board, but you are never told that. No, you can actually be voted as the chairman of the board.
As the
So
chairman
I
of the board.
think, yeah, so Patricia, that's what I want to say. Without exposure, for as long as we continue to hold onto our background and we don't see forward, and for as long as we don't pursue wholeness, we will be very, very limited in terms of how far we can go.
Awesome, awesome. I think let me just cue Miss Millet right there. Can you hear me, ma?
I can hear you now. I am so sorry. I couldn't join on time and then my laptop just shut down. So please bear with me. I'm joining from my phone and I don't have earphones at the moment.
Okay.
No,
We can
it's
see you
understandable.
and hear you.
Can you hear
It's
me properly?
understandable. We can hear you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Miss Millet, I'm just going to ask you to take a few minutes and introduce yourself.
Okay. Okay, my name is Anabahati Mlai. I am I'm a woman who believes that women are capable of so many things. I have seen it working. I work with a lot of women in a program called Female Future Program, which what we do is prepare women to take higher positions in boards and in organizations where they lead. So what we do, we deal from what they do as in leadership, rhetoric, how to represent yourself, how to present yourself, and the knowledge of the knowledge part of it, like how to become a board member, how to what are the board politics, how to behave as a board member, as a female board member, and what it takes to be a board member, what boards should you join or not join, what are your values, and so many more. So are capable
Yes.
of amazing.
Awesome. That's really amazing, Miss Millet. But I want to pick you. You mentioned. I think what you do is basically in line with what you found us talking about. Earlier on,
Yeah.
we talked about purpose and responsibility, and
Yes.
Sia and Lady Vera mentioned quite a very important thing to say. We are given the sense of responsibility. The sense of
Yes.
responsibility is there from just a young little girl. Your responsibility, but then the platforms and the spaces to exercise responsibilities are not there. And somebody commented on our Facebook page to say, we are taught responsibility more than we are taught purpose. And then the responsibility that is basically to take care of the kids, to take care of the home, and nothing actually shapes us and molds us for the boardroom. And now I want to throw it to say, in terms of these, as Africa, as women in Africa, what do you think we need to do to accept the fact that we are capable? Lady Vera mentioned earlier to say our choices matter. To say it is possible to find Patricia as a woman in Africa in a boardroom. It's possible to find Lady Vera in Ghana. It's possible, and it's something that should be done.
Yes, what you said is very correct. The way we are raised as African women, from the very early age, you are taught how to take care of your siblings, even your older brothers. You are the youngest one, you are here, but you're taught to take care of your older brothers because you are a girl. And I actually called my aunt this morning before I joined the session because I wanted to ask her. She took care of me when I was in primary school, and I asked her, but you never told. She was very she was a feminist, so from the very early age she was telling me, you understand for greater things. You come, if you can lead in the class, you can lead anywhere else. You are too smart, and all that. But most people that I meet, most women that I meet, didn't get that from a young age. So but I still see there's a lot of chances for us to unlearn a lot of things that we are told as young women, because as you grow older, I think experience molds you, and you realize that, okay, I have so much strength. How did I pass through all that? So I'm actually capable of even that one. And for us who are a bit grown ups, I think the most important thing that we have to do is rediscover who we are as women, rediscover what our strength was. And in finding purpose, you have to do a lot of unlearning the things you were told, and be ready to learn new things and relearn until you find yourself that you're capable of doing that. Because a lot of these things are rooted in self-confidence, and if you were not built in that, then you have to make the effort to bring yourself into that, because you cannot play the blame game that now, especially when you're at our age. But when I'm talking about the young girls that we are raising and the young men that we are raising now, it's have to be a different story from us as mothers and as parents, that we start telling them from a young age that there is more to life than that. As gender roles, I tell people that gender roles are constructive, and we create them because of a lot of other factors: economic, political, cultural, and they keep changing. So you start telling the girls from a very young age that there are so many other roles you can be playing. It's up to you to choose what roles you want to play. And if we start doing that from a very young age, they'll realize, apart from reproductive role, which as women we have to be the mothers, we have to carry the kids. All the other roles can be shared. It can be, you can be part of anything that you want to be. and then we start preparing them for that from a very young age. And that could help to change a lot of things. But for us who are already grown-ups, we should be more open, we should learn, we should seek for causes that empower us, we should seek to be in networks that allow us to have that access to such positions, and we should unlearn a lot of things that we thought were supposed to be the right thing. But as you grow up, you get out that no, actually no, I'm better at this than that, and it's okay to be that way and to accept who we are as women, and and it's a matter of leadership. And when it comes to leadership, it's more about who you think of who you are than anything else. So it's more about fixing that. It's more about going back to who you are. What are your what who you are, what are your priorities in life, who are the people around you, what are the expectations, and then you learn how to I don't call it balance, but how to integrate them in a way that suits you and allows you to pursue the things that you are. I keep telling my fellow women that I believe there's more to us than what we were told. And if we keep learning, relearning, then we'll figure something. I believe so.
Awesome.
Yes.
I think you got there to you agreed with everybody with what everybody was saying in terms of the issue of identity. To say it's very, very important, first of all, to understand exactly who we are. It is very, very important. And like our topic for the day is our topic for today is what does it mean to be a woman in Africa? If we can go back those crossroads of getting to understand exactly who we are, then it'll become easier for us to thrive forth. I loved that. I loved that. Earlier on, Cynthia, you talked about our brokenness, but before I get to that, there's another comment that I love here by Nomsa. Nomsa said, "This is good. Most mothers don't speak into the lives of their children, talk less of telling them what is possible. I wish I was told half of the time you ladies are saying when I was growing up." So I think this justifies the essence of the conversation we are having today. To say
Yes.
it is very important for us. So as we grow up with understanding our responsibility, it's also important for us to understand who we are, our purpose, and who we are becoming. That basis. Yes, I was saying earlier on, Cynthia, you mentioned something about the brokenness,
Yes.
right?
You know what, Patricia? Yeah.
You talked about the brokenness, and what came out to me is as we go through life, we stumble, we get disappointed, we get buried, we fall, and same on that. We have a lot of women that actually were doing fine and going fine, and they fell and they never were able to actually rise up and get at it again. And one may ask to say, yeah, amazing women like Miss Millay, Lady Vera, Cynthia, with the challenges that you've been through, that you meet as you go through life, what has been your weapon of adversity? What keeps you going?
Mm, mm. Really want to appreciate my sister Anna Bahati Milay. You really spoke deeply into a lot of fundamental issues, and they are so closely tied to that question of wholeness and brokenness, Patricia. Let me quickly start by saying my own personal life started from a place of brokenness where when you are rejected from the womb because you're coming in as an unwanted pregnancy where there are already enough children in the family, and there's a dysfunctional family organogram that's taking place, and then you're coming in as an unwelcome visitor in seed form. So already the rejection is starting there. So already you are broken before birth because there is that wish that no, 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 this life should not even be here to start with. So from a spiritual space, you're already dealing with rejection before you even enter into the natural sphere. So the journey of life does not always. I think for me, my answer, my response is to say, do we understand where the journey of life starts? Because if we believe that the journey of our life starts when we are born and brought into this world, we may not be able to correct certain foundational issues that might have gone wrong. This is not a faith-based platform, but because of my own personal persuasions, which will also help me to respond to why I am where I am, I'll share that one of my very favorite scriptures is from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5, where God is saying that, Jeremiah, I knew you before you were even formed in in your mother's womb. So that question then answers my own life dilemma. When I was born, when I was eventually born 9 months later, I was then given that name that actually reflected how unwelcome I was. That name was not only given as a byword, it was given and actually put on paper, on the birth card, transferred onto the birth certificate, transferred onto the national identity document to remind that no, you are not supposed to have been here. So when we come to issues of identity, the question is, do you find your identity based on the situation you were born in and into, or do you find your identity at the beginning of where your journey is? And according to me, my beginning of my journey is in God. So that is where I then derive my source of identity. So even when I have now gone through life, because I'm already carrying a heavy name, which has a lot of implications. Okay, Cynthia is the name that people know. They don't know the one that I was actually given and what it's really implied. But now that name attracts certain situations, certain people, certain circumstances to you. And then you find yourself in a place where you're continually being broken, heartbroken, disappointed, frustrated, abused. That becomes like a trail of destruction following you throughout life. So when you also encounter that brokenness, and when you don't take time to heal, naturally you're going to go out there and break other people because hurt people tend to always hurt others. So how do you then get inner healing is the question we now need to discuss as human. Because most times the places that we run to get healing are just substitutes which make things worse. You can imagine, Patricia, right now, that if an AK-47 rifle is pulled out on you, bullets are strewn into your body, right? And then you go to a supposed clinic, and then you say, I've been hurt and I've been wounded. And they'll say, oh, no, it's okay. Let's get some Band-Aid. And then they just put some Band-Aid over that. And then you're going to wobble over in life, walking around with bullets inside your body, but with Band-Aid on top of it. And then when it looks like the skin has healed, you just take it off. That, to me, is the analogy of how many people are walking their life. That's why I write a lot about the need for a whole woman standing up. Because many of us have not taken time to actually get the bullets extracted out. Some of those bullets are deposited in spiritual within our lives. Some of them are deposited in emotional spaces in our lives. And sometimes, many times, we actually need someone who cares enough to help us to extract them. But you know what happens, unfortunately? When we go to people who are supposed to help us to extract those bullets and to stitch us up and to nurse us, what they then tend to do is to take advantage of us even worse. So we keep on going in deeper holes and going around in a circle. So that then becomes the narrative of this woman. She's just going around and she's not really taking care of these wounds, getting healing and progressing in life. So again, my sister Millet, thank you so much for the points that you raised, because if we do not take time to introspect, look at where we came from, what we were taught, how we were socialized, interrogated, and then ask for a revelation for our way forward, we're going to be trapped and going in a perpetual cycle and pattern of failure. So that's what I want to say to that, Patricia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think before I give before I give Lady Vera and Miss Millet a chance to speak, allow me to introduce the Miss to introduce the Miss Shelley Hills, She just joined us. Shelley, you are welcome.
Thank you very much,
Shelley,
Patricia.
awesome. I just want to give you a few. No, it's okay. I'm going to give you a few seconds to introduce yourself.
Okay,
Emma.
I go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies. I really want to apologize for tuning in late. I think I had some issues with the link, and I'm sorry about that. But it's great. It's so great to see you, Cynthia, Lady Vera, Annie Bahati. I checked you all on LinkedIn. So I love to have my sisters around me. So I'm following all of you. Okay.
I
Following
can
action.
Awesome. So I'm Shirley Hills, and I'm a woman with many hats, and I'm loving this conversation today. I'm a woman of many parts, and I wear many hats. So I'm the group CEO of Christos Prestige Group, which is a proprietary investment holding company that is vested in real estate, oil and gas, procurement and logistics, corporate event solutions, concierge and lifestyle management, hospitality, aviation solutions, aviation services, and management consultancy. I am the principal consultant for the Christos Consult, which is a development and management consultancy. I am also the founder of the Elite Women Network. It's an international organization or women empowerment organization. I run the Transformers Hub International is an executive hub for business professionals. I also run the Shelley Hills Foundation. I was born with sickle cell anemia but I have not allowed that to deter me. So based on that, I decided to run the Shelley Hills Foundation for Sickle Cell to give life to people who are suffering from the disease. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Miss Hills, I'm going to just throw you into our conversation.
Okay.
Though when you got in, we were talking about brokenness. I'm just going to take you a little bit back to the part of the conversation that stood out for me. When we started on our conversation, we talked about responsibility and we talked about purpose. And it was mentioned here that as we grow up, the sense of responsibility is there in us, but the platforms to exercise those responsibilities are not there. And we also mentioned the need for identity, because if you recall, our topic for the day is what does it mean to be a woman in Africa, and there's that went ahead of you here, they mentioned the essence of knowing exactly who we are as we thrive forward. And I'm just going to throw it to you to talk a little bit on the issues of responsibility and purpose and identity.
Okay. Thank you very much, Patricia. Responsibility, purpose, identity, and you talked about platforms. I'm just trying to get the keywords. So for African women, for women generally, I'm going to start by saying this. It is often said that power is not given to you, right? You need to go and grab it. You need to go get it. And there is we all have a sense of responsibility to fulfill our purpose. If we're waiting for anybody to, push us. I know, yes, most times we need a nudge, we need a push. We are our sister's keeper. But you see, you need to take action. You need to move yourself. You need to move. You need to give yourself that identity that I'm able to do this and go out there and get it done. It's talking about responsibility. This is leadership. Leadership is responsibility. You need to be able to lead yourself. You start by leading yourself, right? Self leadership. And then you must be someone who has high personal effectiveness. I usually teach this and coach about this: personal effectiveness and self leadership. Very important, because therein lies your responsibility. You must be able to be responsible, be accountable, for living your fulfilling your purpose, knowing that your purpose, the purpose of your purpose, is not for your purpose. Your 1,001 people, 1,000,001 people, hundreds of people are tied to your purpose. So you need to brace up. You need to be responsible for that purpose that has been put inside of you, that purpose that you need to fulfill. Okay? This is my understanding. And talking about identity, talking about platforms, let me talk about identity. Women, as women, we need to rise to the occasion. We need to define ourselves. We need to define who we are and what we want to achieve in life. Do not let the society to define you, irrespective of what you've gone through. I'm a divorcee. I'm a mother. I suffer sickle cell. There's a whole lot of labels that people can, want to put on me. But I don't let any of that weigh me down, because I have a calling, I have a purpose that calls for my attention, that demands my attention, demands my responsibility, demands my input on a daily basis. And if I do not show up, how are those lives going to be affected? How is Africa in general going to be affected? Because you see, it's not, they say it's a village that makes the child. It's not how is it put? That the village makes the child. It's not necessarily in doing those big things. You need to start
I
from
think
somewhere. Saying something? Did you lose me?
We can
while
hear
their
you.
networks, I was trying to
We can
reconnect.
hear you.
Okay.
No, I think you
Oh,
can go
and we
on.
lost our host. We lost Patricia. I'm sure she's gonna get back
Coming back.
in now.
The topic for the day
Yeah.
is, what does it mean to be
Oh,
a woman in
Annie, if
Africa? And that's our conversation for the day. We are back on air. I guess, later, Miss Sheila, Miss
yes.
Hills, were you done with what you're saying?
No. So
Okay.
I was talking about identity. We need to create our own identity. We need to define ourselves. And if we have been into any sort of stereotypes, we need to get to the point where we reinvent ourselves. We reinvent ourselves. You need to you have the power. Do not give your power to anybody else. Do not let society, label you. Okay, irrespective of where you are in your journey. And talking about platforms, ladies, Africa, because for everyone who's going to watch the replay, you need to go out there and create your own platform. I know, yes, we talk about resources, we talk about the connections, we talk about so many things, but we need to go out there and create our own platforms. You know, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm living my life. Like, I'm enjoying where I am right now. And the place of contentment is very, very important. So about platforms, don't be afraid to ask for features. Don't be afraid to request to get to join people. You know, okay. Oh, I like what you see a sister doing something in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Kenya, in Botswana. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, "Hey, sis, I like what you're doing. Can I be a part of it?" But you need to be able to build capacity. But how do you build capacity if you're not showing up? Platforms are there for us to show up. That's how we maximize our influence. That's how we become people of worth. And the world begins to reach out. The world begins to invite us for big deals. I'm going to be speaking on a very huge global platform later today, and I'm like, wow, how did I get here? But
Yeah.
because I had the confidence and the bravery to ask for opportunities. Don't just wait to create your own platforms. Go out there and ask for opportunities. When the men begin to see that you are showing up, and you're showing up not just carelessly, but you're showing up intentionally and powerfully, they begin to give you these opportunities that we would naturally have thought women would not occupy. So let's go out there and be phenomenal.
Whoa. I like
Oh
that.
wow.
Wow.
Showing up intentionally.
Wow.
All the best, all the best, Shirley, on this
I
afternoon's platform.
think
I
The
can't
link.
wait to ask
I
what I
think
have to do now.
Forget anything now.
Okay, I think Patricia's link is a bit
Yes.
slow.
Um,
Yeah.
I think I'm having a challenge with my network here. We're
But
just going
we
to
can hear
make
you now.
a perfect we're just make a perfect U-turn and go a little bit back. Earlier on, we talked about platforms, and a lot of amazing things were said. And now something came up. Go out there, have the confidence and the bravery to go and snatch the platform and create platforms. I think Miss Millet, as she was talking, I could see how you were noting that you actually wanted to say something on this.
Yes,
So I'm just going to throw it to you to say something.
about platforms and because I deal with women who are trying to get into network. We all know that we already have the old boys system. It's there. You cannot dismantle it. Uh, but you can try to penetrate it. But as we try to do it, I always encourage other women to create their own powerful platforms alongside. For instance, and by doing so, you start reintroducing yourselves to these people, even when they don't want to know about you, but they see what you guys are doing with your platform, so they have to invite you in. But another thing is, if they don't invite you to your table, sometimes you have to crash in. Sometimes you have to push yourself to go. And the other day, I had an engagement and I had to speak about branding for women. How do we brand ourselves? And I keep saying this. It's good that we are mothers. It's good that we are God fearing. It's good that we are spiritual, but it's also good to put out there what else you do, like the things you are good at,
Absolutely.
the skills you are good at. I see men in conferences, they have given 2 minutes to speak, and the things they say is, my name is so and so and so, I'm a CEO of this, I'm a member of this, the CEO roundtable, and this and that. And maybe if they have time left, they'll say, I'm also a father of two, or I'm a husband of one woman. But for us women, we are given the 2 minutes. We start with, my name is Anabahati Joseph from Life. I am a born again Christian. I love Jesus. I am a husband, a wife of one husband. I have two beautiful daughters, and I love them. And before you know it, nobody knows what else you do. Good. It's all good,
True.
but it's important to show what you bring to the table. And if you are a person, then you I always tell my friends who are very good at writing, publish things on the field that you're good at. So that when people Google it, they will see that you publish this and that's, oh, okay, she's good at this as well. So I think the narrative that women have to mimic and to keep quiet and not be front all the time has to change a bit, because in the world we are in, it's more about what do you bring to the table, and you cannot just you have to show what value you bring to the table. And I've seen women here who are aggressive. And it's very sad that when a woman does that, she's called names like she's aggressive, she's too no, she's manly. But the truth is, when we go back to the gender and the gender roles and the power relations when it comes to gender, that's how they play us down. But if you are a woman who loves to be out there, be out there. If you are not someone who wants to be out there, then use other platforms. Right. Publish articles. And the good thing is now we have so many platforms. Publish on Medium, publish here and there. Comment on people, Twitter accounts on the subjects that you are very good at, and let yourself be seen out there. So that's something I really, really want us to go into. And I as I said earlier, when it comes to we have to be proud of who we are. Apart from we have to be proud of who we are, regardless of what the society has told us not to be proud of, especially when it comes to work and other things. Because it's like, for a woman in Africa, the only thing you can be really proud of is having a family and children and all that. And this is really sad, because now if you are a woman and you don't possess those, then you start feeling that you are not good enough. You'll be a whole CEO, but you don't have a husband. You walk in a room and you start feeling judged. But I keep telling women, what hold on to what you have. If you have that, then bring it out, share it out regardless. And the society will judge us and all that, but as days goes by, things are changing. And the good thing about gender, as I said earlier, it's a social constraint, so it keeps changing with a lot of things. And as long as you're not disservicing yourself, then make sure that you're out there and being observant. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Miss Millet, as you were talking, I could see that Lady Vera, you are pushed to say something. You want to say something. So I'm just going to give you a minute to just go into it. We are currently running out of time. So I'm just going to give you a minute to go into it, and then I'll hand it over also to Cynthia to say something in it.
Yes, I wish we were actually together physically, and maybe we could actually
Yes,
jump
you
and
know.
shout like, "This is exciting!"
Once the borders open, you all are coming to Botswana.
I can't
Amen.
Yay,
wait.
count me in.
So what do I want to say? So I want to say I want to touch on three different areas. I want to touch on the part where we have to speak out. Speaking out is important. So Shirley, thank you for saying that. We need to own, let's get to know more of our language. If you are an aviation professional like myself, learn the language so that when you go to the table you can speak out with confidence. That's all you need. If you are a coach, learn the language of being a coach. Know your uniqueness and present it. Sometimes we don't speak out because we have not learned the language of what we are supposed to say. It's just not English. It is having knowledge of the field that you are in. Have the knowledge and say it. Have the knowledge and say it.
Yes.
Nobody can stop us from speaking out. And
Exactly.
so I'm very happy about that, Shirley. And I love the part that you said we should create room and actually go and grab the room.
Yes.
This is powerful. This is powerful. From today, for
Thank
every appointment that we see and we like, we are going to approach that appointment. We're
Sure.
going to approach
Awesome.
that appointment.
Awesome.
Now,
Like
there's
this.
a part of uniqueness. Patricia, sorry, there's a part of uniqueness that I want to touch on when it comes to leadership. The way women lead is a bit different from the way men lead. And I think that as part of our identity, we should bring that uniqueness to the table. When we go to the boardrooms, we should be women in leadership because the way we lead is different. And with that difference, we are able to achieve a lot. So we should not try to play the game like the men do. No, but we should be women who are able to multitask, who are good at detail, and we should deliver. Thank you so much, ladies.
Awesome, awesome. You mentioned something, Lady Vera, that actually took my attention. Somebody once said to me and said, the problem we have in Africa is that we have more women that are trying to be men
Mm,
that than the winner of women that are trying to bring the natural character of a woman to the entrepreneurial world, to the leadership world, to the boardroom world, and I think that actually that's an amazing comment that you made to say, let's go out and bring our natural self, bring our difference, bring that thing that stands out and win our way.
yeah.
Cynthia, I see you. Okay, Miss Millet, you wanted to add something to that.
Something to what Lady Vera said. I remember because we ran a leadership course for women who wants to lead in boards, and that's exactly what we are being taught. But we also stress on the fact that leadership has no gender. Being a woman or a man doesn't make you a better leader than the other. Of course, there are factors that for women, um, they are there because we are women. There are areas we can be better. Things like we think of the society first because we have that feminine, motherly instincts. We think of the society first. So when we are on decision tables, we are likely to not just think of what it brings in the profits, but you also think about the society. And as a business world, the end result has to be what the society really, really benefits from the whole thing. So we bring that to the table. We bring, I don't like to talk about multitasking because I think it's a bit confusing situation. But we bring to the table things like humility. We bring to the table things like we like to we don't make rash decisions. We wait. We don't take unnecessary risks. Risk is good, but we also measure risk before we take it as women. So those are the good qualities that we bring to the table. And on the issue that women are trying to be like men, most people who say that are the people who are coming from that background where they thought that women can't speak. So it's like when you do the basic things like you express yourself, then people will just jump to you're trying to be a man. But the reality is what is happening in Africa now, it's more women are finding their voice. More women are finding it easier for them to express themselves, to lead, to come forward. And because now we are talking of a society which has been raised in a different way of thinking, then it's easier to say that, oh, you want to become a man. And imagine you are working in a board which was originally a male board. The minute you walk in, I was speaking to my aunt the other day, and she told me that she joined a board when she became the first female textile executive manager here in the country. She had to join different boards, and every time she would walk in, they'll tell her, "You are one of us. You are a man now." But she was like, "No, I am a woman, and I am here as a female board member." And when we speak about what do you bring to the table as a woman, then those are the qualities we are talking about. I don't like talking about when you work in a board and then you start, shrinking in. You start, like, I'm a woman, I should behave more, I should be more me, I should meek, I should be. No, 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 no. It's more like you walk in the board, you bring those feminine qualities, but you don't forget that you have a point to make. You don't forget that you have a voice, you have a vote, and you know things that they have to hear from you as well. And this is where I always try to tell them, let's draw a line there. It's good to be a woman, but the things we have been raised to believe also we have to also evaluate them. Is this what I really want for myself? If you feel like being loud, if you feel like speaking out, do speak out. And I keep telling people, some people are not that. Don't force everyone to be loud and speak out. Some people will write. Some people will donate money. Everyone will do what comes to them naturally. But if you get a position to speak, please do speak.
Awesome. Awesome. Cynthia, you had something to say there?
Yes, I just want to agree with my pastors and to say that, you know what, this is not the time for us to be apologetic with African women. We cannot get onto platforms and start by saying, you know what, I wasn't the one who was supposed to be here. Just filling in. Please forgive me if I do this. No, no, no. We just need to change our narrative. We need to change our intro. We need to change how we enter. And just create a signature. I also just wanted to say that we need to embrace our unique cultural identity, because our theme for discussion today is what is it being an African woman? What does it mean? So let's embrace our unique cultural identity, because that alone it should be an asset for our growth rather than a stigma for our crisis. Okay. And in that same breath, I also want to say, let's embrace the unique femininity, okay, the identity that comes with being feminine. Because sometimes in trying to be masculine, we lose the power of being feminine, because there is so much power in using femininity and just being limitless. And so as we try to mimic and say, okay, this is how they do it in the men's world, I do quite a lot of work with women in politics, not only in my nation, but in different other African nations. And one thing that I can tell you is that it's so sad that many women are not yet exercising their freedom and right to participate in leadership and electoral processes. And those that are participating in that space sometimes miss out certain elements that have to come with personal branding. Because we've got to understand that whatever it is that we are doing, whether it's in parties and politics or in our political careers, we still have a personal brand that will outlive our political parties. So we need to have wholesome speech. We need to be very, very guarded and jealously guarding our personal brands. So this is why coaches are out there. This is why you've got people who will teach you on personal effectiveness, on developing your brand and communicating well. So that when you do step up onto those platforms, you can actually participate meaningfully in leadership. So that's what I just wanted to add there in terms of just our uniqueness and how we can use the power of our femininity to just get ahead and be significant in who we really are.
Okay, Miss Hills, I'm just going to give you a minute to put up your comment there. We are 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes to close, so I'm just going to give you a minute to put up your comment on what you wanted to say there.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Patricia. Thank you, my sisters. I mean, it's been a short time, but a very impactful time as well. What I want to add, for all those who are going to watch the replay or listening in right now, embrace the power of strategic networking. Embrace the
Mm,
power of strategic networking. You cannot rule your world if you are unknown. People need to know you, and how do you get known if you are not, you know, connecting with people, collaborating, cultivating critical connections that will put you up there. For most people, there's a lady who I helped her work on her personal brand who was running for an office, a political office here in Nigeria. And guess what? She didn't have all the resources, the funds, the monetary funds to go in for the elections and the campaigns and all of that. But her brand stood out for her. Her connection stood out for her. And that was what got her the office. So most times your social capital, very, very important. You can't joke with that. That is the new currency. That is the new currency. Thank you very much, ladies.
I think we are heating up, but time is not on our side. So
One
please
last
just
point.
make it okay.
One last point. Let's go digital women. Let's be present on digital platforms.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Aha. So in our closing, I think I'll just give you a few seconds to say this. One might be looking at you and admiring the work that you are doing and admiring the leadership that you bring to the table every day, the entrepreneur and how you are able to navigate your herd. And one might be wondering, what do you do to ensure that you keep growing as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a wife every day in the field that you choose to operate in every day? I think I'll start there with Miss Shelley and then we have Miss Millet.
Okay. So I go back to your personal leadership effectiveness. Every day you need to show up. Every day you need to raise the bar. When you show up, you need to raise the bar. Every day must be better. Every new day must be better than the past day. So that is how you show up strong and powerfully. That is how you stay consistent. Because consistency, you could be so phenomenal in what you do, but if you're not consistent, you will not gain mastery. You will not gain mastery. And people are looking for experts. People are not looking for amateurs to do stuff for them. So you want to gain mastery. You will mastery. You want to be able to maximize your influence, and that is how you stay relevant. That is how you stay, powerful. That is how you continue to inspire others just by showing up fully and staying consistent.
Thank you so much, Miss Shelley Hills. Miss Millet.
For me, I am grounded with my faith and values. So every time it's like a river which is flowing to this ocean. If you don't have boundaries, it's easier to lose it completely. So I always try to go back to those when I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed. There are rooms I won't walk in because they don't fit with that. There are tables I won't sit on, even invited, because they don't fit with that. Because I am grounded with that. But I'm also always learning. I read a lot of books. I'm always doing online courses. I am attending conferences, events. I am always constantly learning. But I also get mentorship. I get mentorship, and I believe I have sponsors who talks about me in places that I don't even I because I have seen that work as well. And you to get sponsorship, I don't solicit for it, but I show what I can do all the time. When I get a position or an opportunity to do that, I do that as well. But another thing that I think works for me is networking with other women and just talking to other women, sharing with them what I do, trying to help when I can, because it's like you are depositing something, and every time it comes back in a lot of different ways. Thank you.
Ms. Vera, Lady Vera.
Okay, so for me, I would touch on the point from Shirley, from Mene, and I think Cynthia is going to talk more about it. But with all the strong points that they've said, something that I'm currently practicing that I want to share is how to see far and still balance and relax in my now. This is something very deep for me because I have always been on fire, running, going fast. But now I feel like, no, I want to relax. Everything that I have learned, how do I pour it out? Then I begin to like fill up again. So for me currently, if somebody's listening to me and you are hearing all these wonderful women and you're like, how do I get there? Please start from your now. Start from your today. Start from the things that you want to see. Put them on paper. Write down the goals in the different aspect of your life. Relax. Take care of yourself. Build the muscles. Begin to move gradually. You will make it. And that is what is happening for me right now. So that's what I want to share.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Miss Cynthia.
Thank you, Patricia. For me, I just nourish myself, make sure that I nourish myself whilst I'm nourishing others. Being a mother of five is definitely not an easy fit, especially if you're single parenting. And also being a minister of the gospel, being a life coach, being into people development, it means you're giving out so much more. And sometimes if you do not take time to nourish yourself or also receive from another space, like what Lady Vera has just said, then it's very easy for you to just get depleted and become emotionally bankrupt. So make sure you're nourishing yourself whilst you're nourishing others. Those will be my closing shot. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you so much, ladies of Africa. We had Nigeria in the house, we had Tanzania here with us, we had Ghana, we had Zimbabwe. Ghana was represented here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it is Africa in conversation. And yes, like I said, this is where we had our virtual conversation that cuts across the borders. We connect here every now and then to unpack, to understand, to work on finding solutions to the fundamental issues that are of concern in Africa. And today we were talking exactly what does it mean to be a woman in Africa. So many amazing things were mentioned. And I think the things, if I can just mention a few thing that for me is that your choice matter and that power is not given. You ought to go out and grab it. You should have the confidence and the bravery to create platforms for yourself. And then one thing that stood out for me also is the fact that we don't have to be anything different, but we have to bring our unique self to the border, to lead by being our unique self. And it is also a call unto you, women of Africa, to say, show up, come out. You are destined for this. You can become it. Defy the expectations because, like Cynthia said, she said, what matters is your opinion of self. Identity matters. Know yourself, know exactly who you can be, and come out and be who you can to be in this very moment. Yes, we love you here in Africa in conversation, and we say keep watch of our next conversation as we'll be here again next time to discuss another issue that is of concern in Africa. Thank you so much for watching Africa in conversation. I'm your host, Trisha Nkwani, all the way from here in Botswana. Once again, thank you so much, ladies, for joining our broadcast.